Hello, 12s. We are back. It's been a busy weekend for us. We guested on another pod last night, the Hawks Zone Rundown with Ryan and Bryce. Look out for that coming out. Check out their channel. Mitch, how you doing, dude?
Yeah, good, actually. Good. Been enjoying lots of sport today. Been watching lots of football or soccer, as it's known over the pond today. Loads of good sports on this weekend. And the Grand Prix early doors this morning as well. So it's been a sports-packed day that I get to round off with some mock drafts, which is my favourite thing, with my buddy Josh on the 12 Talk pod. So not a bad day. Yeah.
That'll do. It's a sports bonanza. I can't say the same for me. I had a family day. So I've just been literally, this is lastminute.com me coming on because my daughter was still awake and I've had to ask my wife to tag in. So I owe her. But anyway, today, as people can see from the title, we're going to be tackling that first round. Mitch has tasked me to be the GM of every franchise in that first round, just to see what I would do. We've looked at the consensus picks, we've heard the rumors, we've compiled them all just to see exactly what's going on. And we'll be using Walk the Mock for that. Now, Walk the Mock is now our preferred mock draft simulator. If you want to use Walk the Mock, by all means, if you sign up for it, whether it's a monthly or an annual subscription, at checkout, use the code 12TALK. You get a cheeky 20% off there as well. You're welcome. So we're going to do that. We're then going to do a full mock for the Seahawks as well. Hopefully very similar to what I do in that first round, but who knows? For anyone who's a returning viewer or listener, thank you so much. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell, and share us with your mates or your family or your friends or other Seahawks fans. That'd be awesome. If you'd like to appear as well, get in touch with us, drop us a DM, and you can come on to an episode of 12 Talk either before or after the draft or during the season. And you can also join our Discord. Now, the Discord is a growing community for us. It's got some fantastic members, some really knowledgeable and insightful pieces go in there. And also, it's just a fun chat. Let's be honest with it. Before we go any further, though, Mitch, I think we should hit the theme tune and then just get into it. You agree?
I agree. Let's do it.
We're in. Right. So, Mitch, do you want to sort of run through the premise of what we're doing in a bit more depth than what I did in the intro? And then let's see. Also, if anyone's got anything they want to say about my GM skills, I think I should have worn a shirt and tie, to be honest. I've gone full fantasy football manager. If you've got anything to say, whether it's positive, negative, whatever, drop it in the comments. We're more than happy to hear them out. But yeah. So
I think the plan's going to be to do two mocks today. The first one's going to be a first round mock where you are going to make the picks. I've made a guide there, which is essentially where I see teams taking certain players. There are trade backs, trade ups, and sort of preferred options 1 to 5. This spreadsheet will be available in our Discord. So if you're watching this pod and you think you might want to have something like this handy on draft night, maybe you want to take it, copy it, and make some adjustments of your own. Maybe there's something in there you don't like. Absolutely come join the Discord and we'll make that available there. But Josh is going to do his own thing, but use that potentially as guidance, as we go. And then the second part, we're going to do a Seahawks draft. Not necessarily following what's happened on this one, but potentially a little bit of it. So that's the plan, really. So I'm going to share Walk the Mock. Do you know, actually, Josh, our promo code that people can use at checkout, is it case sensitive? Does it have to be in caps?
It's a very good question. I can find that out whilst you're talking our lovely viewers through. I'll find out.
Sure. Yeah, so we're going to use Walk the Mock. For anyone that hasn't used Walk the Mock, it's a really fun interface, which is packed full of stats, which we absolutely love, because sometimes you end up needing to make a decision between a player you know really well and a couple of players you don't. And rather than being swayed by the player that you know inside out, just because you know him better, sometimes it's good to just take a second to have a look at the measurables, the combine results, any statistics and things they've packed into the profiles on the players there, and you can do it all in one interface on one browser. So we really like that, and we're going to showcase it as we go. Probably more so when we do our Seahawks mock rather than the overall first round mock. But we're going to really showcase it for you tonight. And if you decide that you would like to have the full access to Walk the Mock, the code will be on the screen and you can use it at checkout and get yourself a handy little discount.
The code would be on the screen, but I've not had time to do it. So next time, but it is just 12 talk. I will pop it in the comments. It's all caps, 12 talk, Bosh. There you go. Nice and easy. But yeah, by all means, use that. It's fantastic. As soon as Mitch brought this to sort of light for me, I started using it straight away. And it's the in-depth analysis you get as well. So what we'll do before we go through this, for anyone who's not seen Walk the Mock, so for example, if Mitch clicks on the icon that's showing, for Caleb Williams, Mitch, run people through exactly what we're seeing.
Yeah, so you've got just the measurables here on the first tab. So I've clicked on the pie chart on Caleb Williams, and you can see here hand size is a 60th percentile for quarterbacks. You've got a 20 percentile there on height. You've got 25 percentile on weight, 46 on a wingspan, and 50 on arm length. So you can see physically, Caleb Williams doesn't stand out as a physical specimen. He's not a short quarterback, but he's certainly not a Roethlisberger kind of towering pocket presence. You can switch there to numbers, and it will give you, again, some measurables and percentiles there in numerical form rather than a graph. And then it gives you some really handy player comps as well, and how like those players they are in terms of a percentage of gain. So you've got all of that baked into the interface there. You can see a nice little graphic there at the bottom of the screen for who's on the clock. And yeah, the trades are really good as well and really intuitive. So we really like it. We stand by it, and we're going to showcase it.
Yeah, damn right. So with that, should I put my Chicago Bears hat on and just say we're taking Caleb? There's nothing to justify going anywhere else, because you are a franchise in need of a franchise QB. When someone with every intangible, every measurable like Caleb comes along, regardless of what's been said about him point blank refusing, if he does on draft night, it'd be quite entertaining. But you're just going to take him. As soon as you're just going to be like, oh, there you go, the card's in. So there you go.
I think the overriding thing there is Caleb Williams is going first, whether it's going to be to the Bears or someone trading up, paying a king's ransom. But they've already got rid of Fields, and there's a gaping hole there. You're picking first, take the best player for that spot, and he shines. So, yeah, I think that's great. Yep. Who's next?
So I've been toying with this, with everything I've sort of read, heard. And Drake May seems to be weirdly, in some people's eyes, dropping down draft boards. And I was very tempted by Jaden Daniels, but I also don't believe all the chatter on X, on everything else. I genuinely think that they're going to go with May. He's been a consensus number 2. He did flip between 1 and 2 for a little bit. But it's going to be Drake May for the Commanders, without a shadow of a doubt.
There we go. Lock that in. I like it. I think you're right. It is between those two, or again, someone paying a king's ransom and coming up. Someone potentially like the Vikings, right, who are quarterback needy. They already have 2 first-round picks. It could be very easy to package something and you're not moving that far back. I think the Vikings are, where are we? 11th with the first one. You could potentially put something together to come back up and still get Jaden Daniels or another premium piece. So
Yeah,
like
I see. New England have got a new head coach and no effective quarterback. And I've thought about this, but again, I've had my top 3, 4 players in this draft sort of nailed on for a while. I genuinely, I think it's going to be Jaden Daniels. These first 3 are really easy for me, unless someone comes into New England and says we will offer you a quarterback as a bridge plus all these picks. That could be tempting, but I genuinely do think it's going to be Jaden Daniels. It's the first 3, nice and easy. It's pretty much how everyone I think thinks this is how it's going to go.
perfect. We'll lock that one in. So now you've got the Cardinals. Our mates, the Cardinals. How are they going to get this one wrong? Tell us all about it.
So this is where I really start. This is where I'd start doing a bit of in depth, and I think they'd be silly to pass up a talent like Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yep.
However, that roster is so deficient in so many ways. I think they could be tempted by a big trade offer.
Yeah, I would agree. The thing I see with this, just my 2 piece here before we move on. Say you take Marvin Harrison Jr., right? You start a ticking clock with a serious generational piece there. You're either going to have to pay him through the nose, in year 4 to keep him on your roster when you potentially are ready to start winning, or not in, the Cardinals' history. Or you accelerate your build so you're ready for a talent like that in a year or 2's time. And I think that absolutely makes more sense. However, that is a hard piece to convince someone to give up.
Yeah, and it has implications throughout the sort of rest of this. But I can kind of see. I could have seen Minnesota trading up into that top 3, but I think based on how quarterback needy all those teams are, then they're just going to take the best 3 quarterbacks on the board. And I really am torn about this because I think if you give Kyler a receiver like Marvin Harrison Jr., he's going to excel if he can stay on the field. But like I said, they're so deficient in so many other areas. I could see someone like Minnesota possibly moving up to grab a QB, but then I look at the rest of the people drafting ahead of them who don't need QBs. It's such a difficult one. Such a difficult one. And anyone who's watching this now is probably going, Josh, just stop dithering, be concise. But then I'm now the Cardinals, and we dither and we're not concise. So
yeah, very true. So which mistake are you making?
I'm making the mistake of taking Marvin Harrison Jr. I think you can pass it up. Yeah, I mean,
if in doubt, just bank a blue chip talent, I guess.
Exactly. You can stack blue chip, and then there's more that they can get later on, which makes the LA Chargers a really easy one as well, because they have just let go of Williams and Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen is now going to be catching balls from Caleb Williams, who blanks him at his pro day, which was quite comical. And this for me was between Neighbors and Bowers.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. Just looking at Harbaugh and what he would, if they'd retained one of those wide receivers, I think they may have gone for Bowers just as an extra weapon. But now, because they've got Quentin Johnson, who, let's face it, had the most underwhelming rookie season of the rookie wide receivers, they're going to look for an actual talent there, a receiving target and threat for Herbert to throw to.
I like it.
I think it's
So
Neighbours.
which one is it? Neighbours.
Neighbours.
Okay, yeah.
The start of this draft shakes out as you'd anticipate. Now, this next one with the Giants.
Yeah.
See, I love how on your sheet that people will be able to see in the Discord, you've got Drake May and JJ McCarthy in there as well, because let's face it, no one's got faith in Daniel Jones, but they're tied to him.
Yeah, that's true. They're in there. There's
now
Joe Alt there as well. Joe Alt is a generational talent. He's got all of the physical things you'd want for a starting premium left tackle in this league. But they're just so needy all around, especially at wide receiver.
It's a difficult one. I mean, who have the Giants got at left tackle at the moment? I should have really got all the depth charts. Andrew Thomas. Yeah, you know what? I think this is where Odunze would fall. I think it'd be Joe Alt, because you can't keep having someone like Daniel Jones having to run for his life because of a lack of protection. So I think I'd go for Joe Alt here. And I think there's enough teams out there that are proving that having a good O-line is the foundation to having a good offense. And that's something that we've missed for so long.
I agree. You could start a cascade of offensive linemen with Alt going off the board, because there's obviously Olufashanu as well, who's going to go off fairly shortly after. Let us into your thoughts on the Tennessee pick here.
So, Tennessee, I was half tempted to actually put in Rome Odunze. He's not on your list, but they are going to have the corpse of Ryan Tannehill or Mayo Coffee Boy at quarterback, who is going to need more protection. He's going to need more time to be able to throw. He's not going to be able to just create magic when there's no magic to be created. And what you said about a run on O-lineman, I think this is going to be the time where someone like Fashanu comes off as well. Because I think they're going to look at that and go, we need protection for our quarterbacks, whether it's Tannehill on his downward trend, or it's going to be Will Levis, who's going to step in and is going to need protecting to be able to actually create something. I think it's Fashanu here.
Lovely. Yeah, I think that's good. I do see that Joe Alt going off the board being a trigger there for them, because they are so needy for that.
This is where I was so close to saying Rome Odunze there as well, but then I just had to start looking at how bad they are in the pocket with Daniel Jones, and you can't. That's unsustainable.
Well, you know what you've done here, though, don't you? You've started the wide receiver needy win now teams, dialing up the phones of some of these teams, trying to get up there and steal Odunze.
And this is where, so the wide receiver needy teams, who are we looking at?
I would say, I think Philadelphia is the next one picking that would think about it. You've got Kansas City, obviously.
Could you imagine? Could you imagine Kansas going up actually for Rome Odunze?
I think it's hilarious. I think it's exactly what they need. It would be so good.
Can we just for the sake of this?
Yep.
Can we just see what a trade would look like between
for Atlanta? Yeah. Okay.
Because I'd entertain it if I was their GM and Kansas came in and went, we will give you our first, second, second next year maybe.
I mean, they've got for their first and second this year. I think it's probably needing a lot more. Yeah, there you go. So the trade weights currently are looking way off. Is that just too steep for Kansas City? Would they wait? I mean, the Falcons aren't necessarily a threat for picking a wide receiver, but then can you wait out someone like the Jets, maybe?
And
Chicago's second.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If Chicago. And this is where I'm looking at that again, but I'm thinking, so if I'm not picking or trading back with Atlanta, I am taking Dallas Turner in a heartbeat.
Well, I tell you what. Sorry, I'm just while you're talking, I'm just experimenting here. And a future first and this year's first comes out at 1,600 value. Shall we just hit that and see if that goes through? Do you think that would be something Kansas City do? 2 firsts to get up and get a Dunze?
I don't think Andy Reid would give away 2 firsts for a wide receiver, especially when you've got people like Worthy, who's going to be later on in this draft.
Fair enough.
Who else? Pittsburgh.
It's Buffalo as well.
Buffalo. I think, yeah, let's see what Buffalo could give. Buffalo come in with a trade.
So, an exchange of firsts, and we need to make up, what's that, 800 more. They're not going to do it with this year's capital.
No. So
first
and second. Year.
Imagine not having a day 1 or early day 2 pick next year. That's frightening. But that's they've actually got 2 seconds next year, so that actually looks really good.
So I'd possibly take their first next year out
and put the 2 seconds in.
And then put the 2 seconds in.
You like it? I know the Bills like it. I think,
let's do it.
I
know the Bills are rumored to be interested in trading with us, but I think if that's the case and a Dunze is there, you're going to take it. So take that trade, and then the Buffalo Bills on the clock are now going to take JC Latham. No, I'm joking.
Love it. It's got to be a Dunze, right? You don't pay that ransom for anyone else. That's good. That's a fascinating move for them.
Right, and then and then who's available at the top? So let's have a look. Click on all.
Sorry, yeah,
that's all right.
There we go. Yeah, so Dallas Turner's still there. I don't see it personally. If it's me, I'm looking at probably Bowers as that threat for Williams. I think that's the
they've got Cole Kmet already, who is another outstanding tight end. And are they going to need 2 top class tight ends?
Brian Thomas Jr. there as well.
What could they do to? I was going to say, what could they do to bulk up their D line?
So I've added D line to this selection of positions. It's not switched. It's weird. There we go. It's odd. Right. Byron Murphy, Jason Newton, Darius Robinson. I think if you're taking D-line here, it's one of the first 2.
Let's just have a look.
Edge-wise, I mean, there's Dallas Turner there, who's the premium pick still on the board.
Yeah, I think I'm just having a look. I'm trying to think who. I should know this, being the GM of the Bears. Who is the defensive end? Montez Sweat, Walker. You know what? If it's me, and it is me, I'm taking Turner. Transformative there across from Sweat.
Love that. Yeah,
that is a heck of a formidable edge partnership.
I agree. I think that's just best player available, right? You're
Mhm.
picking twice in the top 10, and they've taken the best player available both times they've picked. They're a seriously dangerous prospect this year,
Mhm.
but they still have holes in that roster, and I think that patches up to serious needs. So it's very good.
There we go. And now we're on to the Jets.
Yes.
If he's still there, I can just imagine them running to the podium for Brock Bowers. So that's what we're doing at a sprint.
Yeah,
His name
I
was already
agree.
filled in.
Yeah.
And then when they get Aaron Rodgers back, he's just going to be able to find more ways to win games with people. It's wealth. It's just an absolute wealth of talent.
I agree.
And then we're back to Minnesota, and this is where I was so tempted to jump up the draft board with the Vikings to try and get a QB. But when you look at how this is shaped up already, not necessarily. And for me, this is between JJ McCarthy and Bo Nix.
It's tough. I think if you're looking at a scheme fit, I think Bo Nix is probably closer than McCarthy. Whether or not you can still get Bo Nix later on, although saying that you've got other QB needy teams behind this, Denver and Las Vegas stand out to me there.
And this is where I think it's going to be JJ McCarthy here, because the next three I think are a run on quarterbacks, dependent. Well, sort of the next two at least. So this one, JJ McCarthy, lock that in.
Yeah.
Done. Straight after that, I think you're going Bo Nix for Denver.
Yep.
But then this one for Vegas. Now, I don't know how, if you're Vegas, you can justify spending pick 13 on Michael Penix Jr. And we said this on the Hawk Zone rundown yesterday. I'm quite effusive about the fact that I couldn't give him a first round grade. As fantastic as he is, the injury history terrifies me.
Yep.
And the age. Who is available on the clock at the moment, please, Mitch? So if we click on all,
Raiders.
No, just click on all. Let's see what my options are.
Oh, I see. Sorry, I thought you meant clicking. Yeah, Quinion Mitchell, Terrion Arnold are the two top prospects.
Mm-hmm.
And then we've also got Jared Verse still there, Talisa Fuaga. We've got Byron Murphy, your mate Latu. We've got JC Latham, Nate Wiggins, Troy Fatanu, Jazar Newton, Jackson Powers Johnson, Kool-Aid McKinstry. I don't mind them here for the number one number one CB in the draft either. I think Quinion Mitchell or Terrion Arnold are close, depending on your scheme. They're close. I think Terrion Arnold's the one that's the better fit, but
I think it's Terrion Arnold for me here. I just see him more as I think he's more of a Raider type player. I can really see them falling in love with him in the first round, because their secondary last year was actually really good. And there were some people in there that you went, who's that? Where have they come from? Yeah, I think I'd lock that in. And they'd wait to get a quarterback later on and maybe look at trading after the draft.
Yeah, I like that. I think that's a good pick. I think anyone else there's a reach. I think that's a best player available / position of need for them without reaching. I do think they'd entertain a trade back, much like we would, with a view to taking a QB if there's one left on the board. But when you look at the fact that there's a run on them and they're the third team in that run, you're then looking at the Spencer Rattlers that,
Exactly. It's
not necessarily a guaranteed thing.
Yeah, exactly. I just don't think it's worth it for them. I think if you're going to be Las Vegas, you're going to look at the QBs that are left. If the draft falls like this and go, do we want to spend that on Michael Penix? So William Tarkowski, hope I pronounced your name right. Chop Robinson. And is that Chop Robinson for the Saints? Let us know in the comments, my friend. Now, if I'm looking at the Saints, I am looking at really helping out their defense here. Because they've got Cam Jordan, Chase Young, but then Granderson, Peyton Turner, Isaiah Foskey. We all know how that story went after his draft. Do you know what? I honestly think. Let's have a look at their cornerbacks: Lattimore, Debo. I think this could be Jared versus. You're looking at Cooper DeJean is right there, but no, they're not going to take DeJean. I think this is Jared verse territory, if I'm being completely honest, because Jordan's getting on.
An incredible defensive line with some of the talents that are there and the edge talent. That would be a scary prospect.
Yeah. For the Seahawks. Here we go. So Williams said for the Seahawks because they have a top 30 visit this week or trade down. I will. The top 30 visits, I saw this the other day and I completely agree with it. Top 30 in inverted commas doesn't mean it's their top 30 list of players. It might just mean they've not got enough information on players and they're a bit intrigued. So they've just gone, right, out of these guys, who do you want to speak to? We already know enough about them who may already be in their top 30. Let's get some more info. I know Mitch was quite high on Chop Robinson. I like him, but I think you'll see what I'm going to do anyway.
I think Chop Robinson could definitely be one of the best players available if following a trade back. So I think John Schneider might be trying to get as much information as possible on the players he expects to be there at the back end of the first if we end up trading back. So I definitely see that as a player of interest. I just don't think it's a player of interest for the 16th. But yeah, I certainly could see it. Anyway, so we're locking in verse there for the Saints, yeah?
Before, I'm just having a quick look. So they've got, who else have they got? Ryan Ramczyk, Trevor Penning at tackles. They're not going to draft anyone to play over Penning because they drafted him high last year. And Ramczyk is a legend there. Guards, that could be an option. And guard-wise...
It's a good spot for Fuaga, I think.
Yeah, I think that's a great spot for Fuaga, actually. Oh, the Saints war room is bustling right now. I think, in fact, looking at the weapons they've already got on that D line, I think they possibly could look to bolster their O line. I think Fuaga's probably a better pick here.
Lovely. I like the pick. Where is Mr. Fuaga go? Oh, they got him interior. There you go. Mm-hmm. Lovely. Colts.
Yeah.
This might be the first team on the board to genuinely want to move down. I know we certainly have that as plan A1, but I think the Colts will also have eyes on moving back, especially if someone like Terry and Arnold is off the board. So, although Quinn and Mitch are still there, that might be too much. That might be too much for them to pass up,
This is what I'm thinking. Because they're looking to get younger, quicker. Obviously, after drafting Richardson last year, I don't think they're looking at recouping a lot of draft capital. I think they want premium talent in those key positions, and someone like Quinion Mitchell would transform that secondary. He'd just be a no-fly zone. But then you've also got the light. Bowser's gone. Mitchell, Cooper DeJean's still there. It's going to pain me if I get to the Rams and I'm still looking at DeJean and thinking about him going there. The possibility of playing him twice a year would kill me off. Trying to think. So, who've we got available at the top? Go back on all and let's see who the top ones we've got. Quinion Mitchell, CJ Latham, Jared Verse.
Brian Thomas Jr., Latu.
Buffalo have already traded up.
Nate Wiggins, Troy Furtado, JPJ, Trizan Newton, Chuck Robinson there, Adonai Mitchell.
I can't really see a viable trade partner, if I'm completely honest. Just looking at who's still on the board and if we're looking at the consensus that you put together and who's still available.
There's one for me.
Who would you say?
Detroit.
Detroit?
Oh, did we take? Oh, hang on. Did Quinion Mitchell went off the board, right? Oh no, we didn't.
No,
Quinion Mitchell's there. Yeah, if Quinion Mitchell's there, Detroit Lions coming up with the Colts, I think is definitely that's definitely a phone call that happens. Whether they're listening to that,
Bay. I think that if we field a call from Detroit, what could that look like? Let's have a look.
Just dialing them up. There we go, Detroit. So we're moving back 14 spots.
Mm-hmm.
I think the obvious compensation is a second.
Yeah.
And it may need a future pick or a late. That's how much are we looking to make up here? It's still 100.
I think we're possibly looking at a future, like a next year fourth.
Next year fourth sounds good. Let's try that. Do you want to go for this, or you just want to weigh it?
I've said this because the Lions were one of my preferred trade partners throughout all of my mocks, purely because I think they will see their franchise as one or two players away from genuinely contending for the NFC and the Super Bowl. And I think if they've got the opportunity to move up and take someone like a Quinion Mitchell for their secondary, they'll do it.
Yeah, I think so.
Which is going to pain me when it comes to our pick. But yeah, I'd lock that in, and then the Lions are going to take Quinion Mitchell.
Lovely. Right. Cornerbacks. Quinion Mitchell is a Lion. Now, we had a trade suggestion here from Mr. Jonas Meister. Seattle trades back with the Eagles for the 22nd and the 53rd. That I think is one of your favorite. That's one of your favorite trade back scenarios for us.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's an awful lot of offers now from the wide receiver needy teams coming up, and the two premium corners are off the board. If you're still cornerback needy, you've got Nate Wiggins or Cooper DeJean. Or Kamari Lassiter as well as another potential first round CB off. So the only trade partners I could see now are offensive line needy teams that want to get up and get someone like Fatanu, JC Latham, or there's Latu as well. What do we think?
See, I think so, Jonas. I think you're spot on with Philly being a potential. But who did Philly drafted a center a couple of drafts ago, didn't they? I'm pretty sure. And it was someone someone like Jason Kelsey.
Pick. I remember. I want to say Cam Jurgens.
Yeah. And hasn't he been playing a bit of guard for them? But I think he's going to be the heir apparent for Jason Kelsey, having sat behind him, having been handpicked by Jason Kelsey to take over that role. I don't think they're going to move up for someone like JPJ. I just can't see it. I think it's just going to be too rich for them. We've already got a JPJ at home type thing, you know.
Yeah, they have already invested in it, and they have groomed him into a position to succeed.
Now, and then we've got from William again. How about Packers for a first, second, and a fourth? Now, you know what, William. That I kind of like.
Yeah,
it all depends on the trade value, and that's one thing with mock the draft with walk the draft, or walk the mock even. Sorry, you can tell it's been a long day. With walk the mock that you can do. So as you've seen, when we ever go through these trades, it will give you the value per pick. So rather than just some of the other mock draft simulators, you just chuck a load together and it tells you yes or no. You can essentially measure if it's going to be a yes or no with this. Just purely because you can then go, right, so that's equivalent to this many points. This is what we need to add to make it palatable for them. So the Eagles, I'd say, what's that?
That's their late. That's their late second, which is the 21st pick in the second round, plus their 22nd overall for the 16th.
I think we'd probably look to move further back and get more capital, because I think that'd be the bare minimum. That'd be the maximum they'd offer us, knowing what the sort of draft shaping up like and the value of these picks. I think if you look at Green Bay,
yep. Let's go to Green Bay. GB.
So move to 25th, take their second.
That's almost exactly right as well. Yeah. I imagine that's probably.
I think that's probably more likely.
Yeah, I like it. And we're saying that the Packers are coming up to replace Dave Bakhtiari and put a premium blue chip offensive lineman in a Bakhtiari shaped hole.
And I think this is where, and I know the Seahawks fan base, some of them will be pounding the table, telling me that I need to take Fatanu and whatnot.
He might be there at 26.
Exactly. And looking at the needs of some of these other teams and who's still available, he might still be there. And bearing in mind John Schneider's comments about O-linemen being overdrafted and overpaid, I think you can still get really effective O-linemen, as we'll do with our Seahawks draft afterwards, in the later rounds. So I'd lock in that trade.
Beautiful.
Let them move up, and then they can take Cooper DeJean. Yeah, I'm joking.
I had to double check that. I thought. Okay, so I'm assuming. Are we saying JC Latham? Are we saying? I mean, I think Latham's the obvious one, but
yeah, it'd be JC Latham in this.
Okay. You find him there.
So I've seen people talk about having Cooper DeJean as a Packer as well, but they've got Jair Alexander, who does the exact same job. It'd be pointless having two people doing the exact same thing on your roster. So there you go. That's that. The Jags straight in. And so who's still available here? Verse Murphy.
Oh, sorry, you're looking at the main board. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cooper DeJean, Nate Wiggins, Troy Fatanu, Amarius Mims, Jackson Powers Johnson. I think any Jags fans watching, and they won't be because this is a Seahawks podcast, but if they were, I think these are the two names that they're hoping to see.
Yeah.
I think they're a very CB needy team right now, and there are still two probably first round graded players there for them.
I think they're going to look for a pure cornerback. I think it's going to be, if Cooper DeJean's there, someone who I think could really use him. So I for some reason in my mind, I see him playing in a Pittsburgh uniform as a Steeler. I don't know why, but maybe it's because he's currently playing an Iowa jersey. But I can see him as a Steeler just for the mentality and the type of player he is. I think Tomlinson's going to love him, and we'll talk to him in a minute when I get into that draft room. But I think they'd probably go for Nate Wiggins here.
Yeah, I think that's a smart play. I like that.
Yeah,
lock that in. And we got the Bengals on the clock. This one's a fascinating one.
Yeah. See, this is where I'd be tempted by. I need to check who their center is. And this is where it could be a JPJ landing spot.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's gonna be on the line. It's gonna be offensive line of some sort. Let's have a look. So they've got Nate Gilliam, Trey Hill, Ted Karras. We've already got 3 on the roster, but someone can get cut. That's absolutely fine. Defensive ends, Henriksen, Hubbard, Miles Murphy. They don't need the end. Let's look at guards. Kappa, Ford, Kirkland, Wilson. And tackle. Orlando Brown Jr., Trent Brown. Do they need a tackle?
I mean, protecting Joe Burrow has been made to look like a really difficult thing to do. I don't think being more talented on that line is necessarily a bad thing. There are wide receiver talents there as well, which I think would come into consideration here. Did T. Higgins return?
They franchise tagged him, didn't they?
Okay, so maybe you are looking at a long-term replacement. And there is a guy there, by the way, in Brian Thomas, that would be an unbelievable. I don't want to call it a replacement for T. Higgins because he's done bits for them. But if you are having to think about a plan B, and not being able to franchise tag him again, that could be a seriously good solution.
It could be, but it could also be good trade bait for someone like Kansas.
Certainly could be. Yeah, that's the last of the real, genuine first-round graded wide receivers. That is last chance saloon for them to get someone that isn't, a huge reach.
Yeah,
although you could call anything coming up from 32 a reach at this point, to be honest. But yeah,
let's entertain a trade call from Kansas. And just for anyone watching, anyone that listens to this or watches it after we've done the live, I'm by no means saying this is how the draft will fall. This is my interpretation of what's happening or what could happen. So if we look to move down, they would have to give us their first and
second comes to an almost perfect match.
Mm-hmm. And if you've chuck in the fourth, but I don't think they'd do that. They might go for a future. Have a look at a future fourth. See the value. I think that could be the one. Even though it's slightly over, I think it's because, let's face it, they're never going to be picking high, are they?
True. I think it could be a fifth, I don't think it needs to be. Yeah. Should we try that?
I'd accept it.
Yeah,
go for it. Yeah, I'll take that. Kansas City actually investing in giving Patrick Mahomes a receiving threat that isn't just Travis Kelce or someone who causes multi-car pile-ups with God knows how much marijuana was in his trunk.
There we go. And that is unbelievably dangerous, by the way. That is a scary, scary thought for Kansas.
Sorry for anyone who's watching as well. It looks like I'm crying. It's not the pressure. It's just I've rubbed something in my eye. The pressure is getting to me as well. Right, where are we now? So LA Rams.
Yeah.
I don't even think I need to say who it's going to be for them. Although just to caveat this, it could have been one of two players. I said it could be Cooper DeJean, but I think it's going to be the man who has had the biggest question mark over him throughout this whole process for me, which is Laiatu Latu. I think he's going to stay in LA. I think he's going to be the edge rusher they've all been waiting for, especially now AD's gone. Thank the Lord. I think that's the one. I
like that. Well, I don't like that. I feel like I'm going to really not like that. But I think that's a really good pick for them. He is just going to generate consistent pressure with the set of skills he's got and how clean he is with all of his technique. I could just see him being a nuisance. That's a really good pickup for them.
And
Steelers.
So the Steelers' current center is Mason Cole. Now, if they have got QBs like Russ and Fields now on their team, they're going to need a center. Oh, no, it's not actually. It's Ryan McCollum. He's only 26, 2 years. That's right, out of A&M. You're going to need someone who can steady that line, who will be able to give your quarterbacks time to scramble around in the pocket and throw to no one. I'm not bitter.
Shots fired. And a man who throws shots, makes shots for a living. You've just fired upon him. Love it.
You know what? This for me, this is JPJ. This is where he goes.
That's an interesting one. I like it. I think Steelers fans wouldn't disagree with you there. I think that's sensible, to be honest.
So there you go, JPJ. Oh, and now look, we're in Miami.
Jared Verse, Byron Murphy are the two that are clinging on, and then Cooper DeJean as well. Troy Furtado, Amarius Mims, Jazan Newton, Kool-Aid McKinstry, Chop Robinson. Some boys on there.
I think, see, part of me thinks, do we go O-line? But then, can they get more edge help?
Well, they can, because Jared Verse is there. Yeah. That's a serious shot in the arm. But whether they need, who did they take last year? Was it Anadike Uzoma? I think
possibly, yeah. So,
or did he go to Kansas? I can't remember. Not sure.
So they are, wow, according to this depth chart on their official website, they're very light on everything.
There you go.
You know what?
Everyone.
Jared Verse. Let's just keep Jared Verse in Florida.
Very good. The Eagles.
I
mean, personally, I think the fact that all the edges have gone off the board and their ideal fit for a wide receiver has gone as well. This one's kind of open season. We know they like a D lineman.
We don't need any more D linemen.
The comedian in me wants to take a Georgia prospect, and there is a Marius Mims there.
Could you imagine?
But it is typically Georgia defensive players that they take, right? So, not quite exactly.
D end, they've got Josh Sweat, Bryce Huff, Brandon Graham still there, Taron Jackson, but and DT, Carter, Davis, don't need any of that. Tuipulotu as well. The difficult one. Guards, Landon Dickerson. And with Jurgens playing guard as well last year, they've got Hennessy, Smith. You know what? This could be.
Was that confirmation, by the way, that it was Cam Jurgens?
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, good. I've been sat here for the last 5 minutes thinking, I might have got that wrong live on air.
Yeah, I think I might look at O-line again for these because I think defensively they're pretty stacked. Safeties, let's have a look. They drafted Sidney Brown last year. They've got CJ Gardner-Johnson back. That's sort of going to be an awkward one. Reed Blankenship, they don't need a safety at all. Yeah, who have we got?
The Cowboys are sweating right now. If you're looking at O-line, Cowboys are the big O-line needy team left on the board, other than the 49ers, I think. So, but there's Tyler Guyton there as well. Furtado, Graham Barton is an intriguing one for them. That is a guy that can play. Actually, is liked as potentially the best interior lineman in this draft.
Yeah.
Close run thing with JPJ, but also has the versatility of being able to play tackle as well. So Graham Barton.
He was actually, obviously we've got Furtado there, but he's down as a tackle on this, but can play inside. But looking at the O-line for the Eagles, previously was the best O-line, but then you had Cam Jurgens playing alongside Kelsey as well. Jurgens is going to move now inside to centre. I think Barton might be the one here to keep that continuity for them, because they're not going to want to try anyone else or have a backup or someone who's not blue chip. And I think, like you said, Barton is pegged to be the best interior O lineman in this draft. So yeah, great.
Yeah, and it means you move over the prospect center into the starting position, plug the gap left by him, but also simultaneously provide depth at center as well. You know, that makes a lot of sense for me. I think that's a clever move. Lock that in. Graham Barton goes.
The Vikings.
Vikings. Yeah. And who is the top prospect still on the board? Byron Murphy.
Now, this is one where I would be seriously considering taking someone like Chop Robinson.
Yep.
Considering they've just lost Daniil Hunter. Luckily, the Texans don't pick at all in the first because they don't need to pick anyone for at least 2 or 3 seasons now. But I think, can we have a look at the? Oh, so you've got Robinson, you've got Braswell. I think this is Chop Robinson time here. I think if I'm looking to plug that hole that's been left by Daniil Hunter, I'm going to go for someone like Robinson.
Pure edge rusher. Yeah, I like it. Very good. This one should be fairly easy. I think every Cowboys fan in the nation wants to see some reinforcements on that O line.
Yeah.
I know a lot of Cowboys fans are really high on Mims. It's
Georgia
just an
prospect
absolute mountain.
Yeah, I think that's what Dak Prescott's going to need if he look at those measurables.
I was going to say, if that graph will ever shine a light on a guy that is a freak, it is now. That is ridiculous.
Can we see what his comps are? The mountain from Game of Thrones.
They've comped him here to another guy in the same draft with JC Latham.
There's a few of those on this. There's quite a few where they comp to someone who's in this draft as well, which I find really intriguing because when I'm looking through doing my mocks, and I sort of see someone, but then I see them comped to someone who I can get in a lower round. It gives me a bit more food for thought.
Yeah, I would say as well, with these comps, they are generated off the measurables and the combine results and things, rather than any playing style or anything else. And because JC Latham is listed as a tackle and has similar freaky measurables to Mims, it's actually quite a decent fit. But actually, when you look at the makeup of the players, one is an out and out, pillar bookend, and the other is a versatile piece with high athleticism. So they do project to very differently to different teams. But when you to look at them and check the measurables, they look remarkably freaky.
This is going to look like anyone who's watching this is thinking, "Oh, Josh is just trying to save Fatanu for the Seahawks." It's not the case because I genuinely think that they'd probably look at someone like Mims over Fatanu. And let's go for Mayra's Mims, please.
Yep, locked in. They'll be happy with that. One of my good friends is a Cowboys fan, and I know that he's having sleepless nights and cold sweats, hoping that Mims drops to them there. So he'll be really relieved. I genuinely think that is the pick as well. Fatanu doesn't really match the sort of profile that they're looking at there.
And so this one now for the Seahawks, as a Seahawkers pod, a Seahawkers fan, I'm looking at this and the easy option, there's 3 for me now. There is Fatanu.
Yep.
There's Johnny Newton. And I've said this for a long time, Cooper DeJean. Because I genuinely think that if Mike Mack saw him on the still available, wherever we pick, he would possibly fist fight someone for a weapon like that in his defense.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. I think.
But then
I agree though?
We've plugged those holes. We've plugged the holes at safety, and a cornerback was set. What we're not set at is, I think D-line we're fine. We've got a lot of experience there. We've pumped a lot of money into it. But our O-line, and we've said this ad nauseum, where they've got the links with Huff and Grubb. I'm like a massive homer, and like I've just, done this whole draft just so I can get this man at this point, but it's not the case at all. I think it'll have to
Well,
be Fatani.
he tends to fall. Yeah, he tends to fall to this spot anyway for similar reasons that we've explained earlier on. I think it's very reasonable, honestly.
There you go. Yeah, put Fatanu in. It's got to be.
Happy days.
And this is where we come and do our Seahawks mock after this, and he's not available where we pick him, or we want to pick him.
Well, at least there'll be some variation.
There you go. Right, Tampa Bay.
Yeah. And we moved Chop Robinson, didn't we? So
Chop's
the obvious
gone.
pick here is Keon Coleman, maybe? Do we think Keon Coleman? Proper weapon there to succeed. I mean, it's a bigger bodied guy. You look at Mike Evans.
Yeah.
He'd be a superb successor. I mean, they've renewed him, right? But on huge money on a short, I think it's 2 years.
Yeah, 2-year contract.
Keon Coleman's a superb. The amount of times you see that big guy going up, his speed, he gets up, one-handed catches. Like he makes those star plays that we've seen Evans do for years. It's a serious comp, I think.
I think that'd be it. Keon Coleman, again, staying in Florida.
Yeah,
don't want to leave the weather.
Actually, there he is. Good fit, that, I think.
Yeah.
Cards. I hate who they're going to pick. I think it'll be one of two players, and I hate both of them going there. Well, honestly.
So I'm looking at that, just the top two there.
Yeah.
Byron Murphy and DeJean. DeJean would be the successor to Buda Baker. I think they're probably going to go D-line if they're looking at this.
Sport for choice with Jason Newton and Byron Murphy there as well. They got pick of the litter on D-line there.
They're gonna want to take premium. Whilst they've still got Buda Baker, because he had the opportunity to move and he stayed, which says that he's invested in playing there for at least another year or two to see how it goes with his rebuild and the new coaching staff. I think they're going to go Byron Murphy.
Very good.
But it's best player available at this point, isn't it? When you're at this point in the draft, you think, right, where are our holes, but also who's available, right? And then Atlanta on the clock.
Who are very sad, by the way, that all the edges have gone. Although there is still a guy. Say your piece first, and if you don't mention this guy, I'll throw him in as a curveball.
Who's still available there? So
Cooper DeJean, Jason Newton or Johnny Newton, Adonai Mitchell, Tyler Guyton. We've got Darius Robinson, Jordan Morgan, who a lot of people are very high on.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Penix Jr. still languishing there. Someone we didn't consider when we picked at was it 22 or 20?
And we won't. His first round's too early. I said this on the pod we did yesterday. It's too early for him.
Yep. My curveball. I'll no, you go then. If you're about to say.
No. Go on. Just you.
I was just going to say Darius Robinson as a defensive end. It's listed there defensive line, but he's played all over that defensive line. Creates consistent pressure, really forceful, powerful player on the edge. I know they're ideally looking at outside linebacker, but you're going to get pressure on the quarterback consistently with Darius Robinson. And he's a player that's played only 2 years in college. He got to be a first-round prospect after 2 years of college football. That shows a really coachable player with so much upside. It's untapped potential and provides what they're lacking, even if it isn't the exact sort of position they'd ideally look for. That would be my...
Yeah, I'm also looking at this, and I'm looking at they're not great along the D line anywhere. And I think if someone like Johnny Newton is available, that would be a very strong shout. I think it's Johnny Newton for me. He's available there. You're going to take him. You're not going to start wondering where you can go with a project in the first round. You're going to go, we know what you can do. And then is it the Colts again? It is.
Oh, yeah, after their trade back, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they've fallen on. Oh yeah, I think they've fallen on their feet here, trading back and still getting DeJean.
Yeah, I think it's Cooper DeJean here. There's you don't need to say anything else that has helped transform that defense, which up and down, I think, as you can say, peaks and troughs, not fully formed yet.
I think they're all dancing, trading back, picking up the capital they did, and still getting a first round high quality versatile piece like that. Wow, that is value.
Yeah, that is massive value. And then at sort of safety, Rodney Thomas, Nick Cross, and then if you look at the cornerback room, Jalen Jones and Darrell Baker, DeJean would start instantly.
I agree.
Okay, and then we're at Baltimore. I'm so glad DeJean went before I got to Baltimore. It'd be even worse if you had Mike McDonald, who was still the defensive coordinator, and he was there. Again, this is where you look at their needs. If we look at the sort of database you put together here, there's one player that stands there right at the very front, which is Tyler Guyton.
Yeah, I really like Tyler Guyton. Again, it's another physical freak. I mean, the size of the guy and the ability with that vertical jump. And I know you're not expecting your tackle to be, on his pogo stick doing, jumping around, but that is some serious athletic power. I like the upside there with Tyler Guyton.
Yeah, I think it'd be Tyler Guyton there.
There you go, nearly 6'8".
Ridiculous.
Huge human. Okay, and then our mates, the 49ers. Should we just take a kicker? I feel like we're taking a kicker.
Can we just trade this one pick for all of our draft board to move back one space? That'll do.
I'm sure there's a day 3 long snapper they were looking at.
So
what do we think here?
The general consensus for them: Johnny Newton, Barton, both gone. Guyton just gone, and he's in there twice. That's how much they wanted him. But Jordan Morgan to shore up that O-line and protect their man.
Yeah, and I think when you look at the age profile of some of their star offensive linemen, Plan B needs to start, ideally a year ahead. We haven't got any indication that Trent Williams is retiring, no? But
nothing yet. There were whispers that he was considering it, but I don't think it's not like I keep my finger on the pulse of San Francisco 49ers news, to be honest.
No,
I see them come up at any time and go skip.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. But that's fine. I like that. Jordan Morgan's a good selection there for them, I think. And then we've got the final pick of our first round, which will be the Bengals following their trade back with the Kansas City Chiefs.
Everyone that they wanted has now gone. So,
yes,
best available player. Let's have a look. Who is it?
We've got Kingsley Suamataia. We've got Patrick Paul, who is
you're on the O-line, though. I want to look at them all.
Okay. Yeah. Well, you've got Kool-Aid McKinstry there, the best named player in the draft. We've got Adonai Mitchell there. And Darius Robinson still there. That's a serious talent. Lad McConkey, Ennis Rakestraw Jr., Troy Franklin, Suamataia, as I mentioned, Tyler Nubin. And then we're into Braden Fisk and Edgerrin Cooper. I think there's about 5 borderline first-round talents there. We've got OT. We've got some OT options as well. I've mentioned Suamataia, but Patrick Paul there as well. Interior offensive line. Zach Frazier. What do we think, buddy?
Do you know what? Just for the sake of getting this done, because I want to get onto the Seahawks one. I'm going to look at very quickly what their cornerback room looks like. Davis, Hilton, Ivy, Taylor Britt, DJ Turner. I think they're all right there. Edge rushers, we know they're fine there. Defensive tackle, Bell, Carter, BJ Hill, Devonshire Maxwell, Jay Tafeli, and then difficult one. Dragging my heels here. I really should have set myself a timer. I think they're probably going to look at tackle wise, Brown and Brown Jr. Yeah, but why not? I'd take a tackle. I'd take
Sumate.
Sumate.
Yeah, it has to be right.
Purely to get him in there and just to make sure they've got that depth, just to keep Burrow upright, which should help me greatly in my fantasy football. I've just picked up Joe Burrow as my quarterback. If he can stay fit all season, I'd love that. So let's go through very quickly before we nip onto our Seahawks one.
Yep. So we had Caleb Williams going first to the Bears. We had Drake May going to the Washington Commanders, followed by Jaden Daniels going to the New England Patriots. We had a 1-2-3 run on QBs, followed by Marvin Harrison Jr. going to the Cards. We had Malik Neighbors going to the Chargers. We had the New York Giants picking up Joe Alt, which is the first of the OTs to go. I think we have 12 offensive linemen in round one. I think we had maybe even more. Fashanu went next to the Tennessee Titans. We had Roma Dunze going to the Bills following a big trade up with the Falcons. Mm-hmm. We then had Dallas Turner off the board at 9 to the Bears, who got very talented on both sides of the ball there. That
was basically the Bears just emulating the Texans from last year.
Yeah, exactly. Well, more or less exactly the same. Yeah, JJ McCarthy went to the Vikings to be their new QB, which then was very quickly followed by Bo Nix to Denver, Terry and Arnold to the Raiders, and then we had Talise Fuaga going to the Saints, Quinion Mitchell to the Lions, JC Latham to the Packers, Nate Wiggins to the Jags, which is a move I love. I think that's a really good fit. Kansas City coming up to the 18th pick to take Brian Thomas Jr. is a brilliant move. Yes, that is a horrible situation. Kelsey, Mahomes, and Brian Thomas Jr. and Pacheco as well as a real receiving threat there as well with dual ability. Talking of things that scare me, Latu to the Rams. Horrendous. How could you do that, Josh?
Can we quickly just discuss that? So anyone that's been sort of listening to watching us, thank you so much again. But since the news came out about Latu and him being medically retired whilst at UW and then going to UCLA and being cleared to play, I have been desperate to find out what has happened to him, because all I know is it's a spinal injury. For anyone who's heard me or seen me on pods before, you will know that I suffered a massive spinal injury where I paralyzed myself and I've had sort of a cervical spinal discectomy and had basically my vertebrae fused. So that's what I was leaning towards with this. Mitch, being the good friend and co-host that he is, sent me a lovely WhatsApp message the other day just to confirm it is that. So essentially what's happened is in between his vertebrae, the padding, I can't even think of the word now. In between the bones, that's all worn away. It's probably impinged on nerves, which has then stopped him with any mobility. Pins and needles happen. What they'll then do with a cervical spinal discectomy is they go in through the front. So I've got a lovely scar here to move everything out of the way, to space your neck out, put fake cartilage in between the vertebrae, and then they usually pin it with titanium pins. So metal detectors tend to go off if I walk near them, basically. But yeah, so that's what he's had. Now, that's by no means a career-ending injury. There's plenty of rugby players that have had the exact same thing. It's usually just used to space out your vertebrae to stop them impinging on nerves. The doctor who cleared him to play is also the doctor. Was it 12 NFL teams?
15.
15.
He was a spinal and neck injury consultant for 15 different NFL teams. as well as a whole host of NBA teams and colleges as well. So you can guarantee the reports have probably been made available to those teams. Obviously, they're confidential to the person, but it's in his interest to prove if that person's going to say he's fit to play, he wants that information getting out. So probably the reason why it hasn't been covered extensively and been made more of a big deal is the fact that the teams aren't worried about it. And I haven't heard any of the teams say anything to the effect that they wouldn't be interested.
This is also where him winning with technique as opposed to raw power and just putting your head down and trying to drive someone back will give a lot of longevity to his career. And can we also just say this doctor, if he hadn't cleared him, knowing his direct affiliations with 15 NFL teams, if Latu does end up, hopefully, touch wood, nothing happens, but if something does go drastically wrong, that doctor will be shunned by everyone. Sorry, I really wanted to get that in there because I was so excited when he sent me that information because I've been searching for it for ages. But yeah, there you go. So Latu's gone to the Rams next.
JPJ went to the Steelers. We had Jared Verse staying in Florida and going to the Dolphins there. You've got Graham Barton going to the Eagles, which I think is a great move. They're obviously reshuffling the interior of that line, and they plug probably the most ready to start in the NFL interior lineman into that group, and I think that's a solid move with the versatile upside of being able to play every position on that line to an NFL standard. We've got Chop Robinson going to the Vikings. They didn't trade up or move around at all in this mock, so they were able to take a really good piece on both sides of the ball there, difference maker on both sides. Got Marius Mims going to the Cowboys, which my friend Magnus Viking would absolutely love. Troy Fatanu joined the Seahawks, stayed in Seattle, stayed with Ryan Grubb and Huff, and provides that interior boost to our line and that versatile upside to cover for Abram Lucas, which I think is a great fit. Talking of great fits, Keon Coleman becoming an understudy there to Mike Evans is a superb move for the Buccaneers. We've got Byron Murphy going to Atlanta, another player that will be terrorizing Gino.
Arizona.
Arizona, yeah, but terrorizing Gino nonetheless, at least for one more year. Johnny Newton to Atlanta. Interior line help there. Interior D line help there for Atlanta, and some edge as well. Cooper DeJean, following a trade back by the Colts, heads to Indianapolis, which is an absolute steal for them. They traded back, picked up extra capital for their rebuild, and also took a superb corner. Tyler Guyton to Baltimore. You've got Jordan Morgan to the Niners. Kingsley Suamataia going to the Bengals. And those three linemen off the board round off our mock.
Beautiful.
There we go.
Well, those of you that are still tuned in, thank you so much. I know it took us longer than it should have done, and we should have really put a 2-minute timer on, but I was quite invested in talking about a lot of them and ahhing. That was our first round. Well, essentially my first round, because that's how I picture it going if I was in charge of those teams. Let us know what you think in the comments or in the Discord. I'm pretty sure I love that great mock. Yeah. So every time we do a mock on this as well, you get that. Yeah, in the Discord, on X, any of our social media platforms. Don't forget as well, if you do want to sign up with Walk the Mock, use the promo code 12talk or caps at checkout, 20% off. Lovely job. And yeah, you can enjoy it exactly the same as us.